Alright, so obviously I wanted to keep this podcast a little bit more natural, by the way. Just let everybody kind of naturally flow into it, to be honest. Because when I was watching some podcasts, which I did do some research now, I kind of noticed that's the vibe. A lot of podcasts actually started out like this. You know how I'm talking right now? And some person would literally make jokes and shit talk for about 5 minutes. It was pretty good, to be honest. I appreciated that. But yeah, I just want to ease everybody into it. Just let everybody say a little bit, talk. So how are you guys doing anyway after RE7?
In general, or
just in general, like after RE7 now.
I don't know whether I'm playing it so much because I like it, or I'm playing it so much because I'm fucking sick of it.
I'd probably go for the fucking sick of it role, to be honest.
Because I beat it on every difficulty, including Madhouse, and I've just been playing it non-stop, and now I'm just looking to buy something else because I don't want to go back.
I think with me, it's been a thing of I loved what I played of it gameplay-wise, and then unfortunately, the story ended up just going.
Hey guys, you want to be ready for a bad joke? You ready for a bad joke? You know that game I bought you all?
Yeah.
There's more depth to it than Resident Evil 7.
Oh,
shots fired.
Oh shit. And if anyone is not wondering, the game I bought is fucking Depth, so that was a terrible pun.
It was a terrible pun, but it's got so much truth to it, it's unbelievable.
Actually true, by the way, guys. Not a sarcastic joke. It's like one of those is sarcastic, but not really sarcastic. Kind of a joke, but not a joke.
Yeah, it's just so true.
Does Depth have documents, tee?
No, but I do believe the diver you play as has got more of a background story than Ethan. I do believe that.
And it also tends to pull you in and pull you under.
There's also no Zoe.
Shut your whore mouth.
Yeah. It just don't get me. Yeah, all I'd say is gameplay-wise, that game was awesome. The gameplay was good. What was there of it was good. Story, it was terrible. The thing is, right, the one thing going back and looking at all this, what they could have done is just marketed this as a first-person survival horror game, and then at the end panned to the helicopter and saw Umbrella and go, oh my god, this is the Resident Evil lore. That would have been so much better.
Yeah,
because
even then, to me, there's still inconsistencies within the plot.
The inconsistencies wouldn't have mattered because you wouldn't have thought you was playing a Resident Evil game. The story was
some of them I'm talking about,
shit.
even past the Resident Evil, some of these plot points still don't make sense at all. Like, at all. Like the cure on Zoe, for example.
Have you got a quill and some fucking scroll? Because we can
What, you're gonna write loser on my
dissect. We can literally fucking dissect the shit out of it. But seriously,
it's going to be.
I apparently heard that after Resident Evil 7, games that don't have a character named Zoe produce much better quality content.
You shut your whole mouth.
Why you gotta keep bringing that name up?
We're on a Resident Evil 7 podcast. Of course I gotta talk about the characters, no matter how badly written or plot hole ridden they were.
Listen here, that so-called character is so bad that it barely even qualifies as a character. Hell, it barely qualifies as a fucking placeholder, okay? That's how bad this character is.
I felt as attached to Zoe.
An unimportant character.
Yeah.
She is it.
I felt more attached to Zoe. Or should I say, I would have felt as attached to Zoe as I would if the wristwatch you had just had an AI giving you basic instructions. Literally, I felt no attachment to the character, none.
Yeah.
You know what, actually, I thought about this just now. You want to know what would have been way better than Zoe? If your wristwatch started, getting phone calls, because obviously it can do that, and, you had this unknown identity giving you, instructions on where to go, how to make the serum, blah, 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 and then at the end of the game, he's like, I'm Redfield, and, that was the guy giving you instructions the entire time.
Just call me Deep Throat.
Metal Gear.
That could have been a way that they could have just skipped Zoe and had less plot holes.
Yeah, because honestly speaking, right, I feel like Zoe, if you think about this, right, you look at Zoe, you look at the data mines, you're supposed to play as Zoe on the ship. You were supposed to see a character much more well developed. In the early tapes, you even see a photo with her face crossed out. She was supposed to be important. She's the person giving you advice. And then when you finally cure her and see her, which is literally for 2 minutes, she's just dead, literally. And then Mia appears out of nowhere in a place, which is implicating that Mia that you just left behind, which if she wants to be on the ship with you, why didn't she just come on the boat? She just apparently teleported to you. Like, there's like 6 plot holes at once going on there. That's so the entire Zoe thing, it is so obvious based on all the plot holes and inconsistencies and the complete lack of fucks given by Capcom on actually to trying to, you know, think of some conceivable reason in a document or something they could throw in to, like, prove why that happened. No, nothing like that. They cut it out. It was cut content. It's so obvious it's cut content, and there was no fucks given about it either. And no, they didn't even try and patch it up, basically.
Exactly.
Oh, well, basically, all they did is they slapped the Resident Evil franchise onto a fucking game and then thought, yeah, this will sell shit. Because at the end of the day, they don't. When it comes to games like this, now it's quite blatantly obvious that they do not give a fuck about the existing fan base, and they've got no loyalty to them. It's like, well, they're going to buy the game anyway, so let's try and get some other new people in and tack it on and throw it down as a reboot and just throw in a load of bullshit mentioning no name Zoe. And it is bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. The story content, what we wrote would have totally been a lot better to this fucking game than
it was more
whatever.
Consistent as well. It
actually had a point. A beginning, a middle, and a fucking end.
Yeah, it filled in all the blanks. So, like I said, like Zoe could have cradled Jack as she was dying, and he could have given you that message instead of the hallucination. That absolutely made no sense.
A fucking massive ensuing what was fucking Jack, and then had a bit of a hallucination flashback like that. Because even that, the fucking that piece of voice acting in that game for them couple of minutes with Jack, from him being his psychotic hillbilly redneck Ethan killing motherfucking self, to him being a normal person who didn't want to harm you and explain his side of the fucking story.
It was brilliant.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And it was just unbelievably fucking... It was trash.
You were gonna get me demonetized. You need to swear jar, dude, to make up for the demonetization you're gonna get me hit by. Like 7 cuss words in a minute. Jesus Christ.
Well, we'll call you Viara down payment for
it. So, talking about this, right? First off, because obviously this is just me and you, Ashley, that know about this, just so the audience knows. Me and Ashley said, right, basically, if you look at the hallucination scene and you've got Zoe in there and Jack, and it makes absolutely no fucking sense, because theoretically, and this is the theory, right, this is the popular theory that everyone's saying, but it makes no sense, is that Jack died, and then because of the hive mind thing, Ethan's already infected, and he, like, links with Jack, but then Jack disappears out of existence, so basically Jack's soul, this virus, is actually floating souls around, and then Zoe, who's still alive, is in there for absolutely no reason. Why not? Just throw in there, and her dad, which she's been trying to save, and she apparently gives a fuck about, she just walks over to the window and ignores him. Like, okay, cool. Okay, so Zoe doesn't even want to hug her dad who's back to normal in this consciousness of afterlife where she gets one final moment with him. Like, just, dude, all this was bullshit. What we said, what me and Ashley said would have been a much better plot here, is Zoe wanted to cure her dad, but then he transformed into that mutated form and it was too late. So she gives you the cure, knowing that's going to kill him. And when you cure him and he turns into the calcification thing and he goes to grab you, he grabs you and Zoe and absorbs both of you into his body. And, like, it gives you a final, like, because of the hive mind link, it gives you that hallucination, and it totally makes sense now because you're inside his body and directly linked to him. Like, you could have a little scene, you know, showing all the mold, like, going over the brain of Zoe and Ethan, like, showing that they're getting a neural connection to Jack. And then after he dies, he ejects you out with, like, a key or something to the next area, which shows that he's now on your side. And Nog, you should get this, right? It'd give you the Metal Gear Solid vibes that after you kill each boss, it's kind of like you get a tragic backstory and they help you out. They actually help you out after that. And then you kind of feel bad for them, which is what I actually feel they were trying to go for, but they just copped out. Like, imagine Zoe had done that, and then imagine after Jack ejects you out, his own body comes out with a mass, like a really damaged version, and Jack and Zoe are sat there, and Zoe's holding her dad, and, like, Jack's dying, giving his final words and saying, you know, giving his final blessing and love to Zoe and saying, please save my daughter and my family. as much as you can, Ethan, and then he dies. Like, that would have been, it would have filled all the plot holes up with the entire hallucination, dead soul bullshit. Zoe would have actually felt empathetic because she's just lost her dad, and you would have connected more to a character, like, oh my god, you know, she's just losing everything, which then would have made more sense, because when you go in to cure somebody after that, you've actually got fucking reason to cure Zoe, which there was no reason to, other than, oh, well, she's giving some phone calls.
She kind of deserved to die to me, because I'm sitting here like, yeah, I'm sure I could have I'm sure I could have taken Jack with guns, and she's like, cure him, and then they're like, oh, there's one cure left? Oh no, like, yeah, there's one cure left, stupid. You count the two, you tell me to use one, don't get shocked afterwards.
No, wasn't it Mia that shouted that though? Wasn't Zoe just like, no, Zoe reacted?
No, I'm pretty sure Zoe shouted, cure him.
Yeah, that was Zoe.
That was Zoe.
No, Zoe shouted cure him, but Mia was the one that said there's only one cure left. So that's still kind of like relevant, but
no, they were both shocked.
No,
like it was both of them.
To me, it looked like Zoe was more depressed, like because she knew what had happened, and she probably
what was coming. It's like cure Mia, cure Zoe. Mia every time, called Zoe. But at that point, you're probably thinking, well, that bitch did chop off my hand and tried to hacky slashy maim from me, at least on many different occasions. How about I throw this in the water and let them both fight over it? Wet t-shirt contest.
And then file for divorce.
That's the problem, right? That's actually a major problem there. Is that normally, because we've just established that Zoe's such an underdeveloped character, you would go, okay, the automatic choice is Mia then. But there's the fucking problem. Mia's such a badly written character that you don't even give a fuck about her either. So it's just like the cure that I've been spending this fucking 4 hours trying to find, and you know, I've got it all now. I don't even feel like, A, I don't want to give it to anyone, because I don't really give a fuck about either of these characters. B, you've got no emotional attachment to anyone, and Jack's entire hallucination made no sense. But then C, whoever you cure doesn't matter anyway. Literally doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Well, you don't know that during the time of the choice.
That's not the point. That's not the point. The point is that's bad writing. For like,
here, let's now go over the inconsistencies with this said cure and its effectiveness. Also,
it's not a fucking
as
cure,
the time
dude.
frame.
It's not a cure.
I know that.
Fucking Capcom, that is not a cure.
It's a placebo.
By the way, I bet that swear jar you was talking about.
Dude, we're gonna have $200 at the end of this. Actually, you know what, guys? Talking about this, I'm not even kidding. On our when we've got everything set up properly, right? I'm not even kidding. Let's do this, yeah. Let's set up a swear jar on our next podcast, and every time someone swears, you put £5 into it. Yeah, literally. And at the end of the podcast, whatever's in there, we'll send to a charity. I think that sounds actually pretty good.
I'm game with that. I'm just gonna staple my fucking mouth.
If only I had £5 every time I swore.
Ashley's just gonna be like, oh, is that the deal then? Is that the deal, Avid? Fuck. At the end of the night, there's like a $4,000 jar.
Avid just put himself 30 down right now.
Oh, wait, the rule ain't on right now, Demo. The rule ain't on right now. Get it out of your system.
Alright, fine then. Fuck.
Yeah, I'll put it.
Everyone's going all PD. Everyone's just like, fuck this, fuck that.
Summer Games Done Quick. I'll make the donation in Summer Games Done Quick, whatever it is at the end.
Yeah, that sounds nice. I'll literally hand count all the swears up on the stream as I go along. But oh, Shadow's here, guys. 1 second.
Boom. It's like, what's the point in having a cure, and then you can be escaping in a boat, and then it's like, oh no, Evelyn, I'll be good. No, please, oh no, I'm turning into white, crusty cum.
Turning into
white crusty cum. That is exactly what it is.
How are you doing?
Hi.
So
Hi, Shad.
So we're just in the podcast already, guys. Shadow was supposed to be here from the start, but unfortunately he's been very busy lately. Work, sleep, schedules, everything. You know, he's got an entire country to run. He's a pretty busy guy. So luckily we've got him here now.
I'm very sorry. I'm here though.
But yeah, Shadow, just to bring you in on the thing, we just started recently, to be honest, not too far off. We're just kind of going over the intro, but just talking about random stuff at the moment, like the entire inconsistencies with Zoe and everything like that, with the Jack hallucination, you know, all the little plot holes and just little random things they never decided to explain. And we're just basically talking about better ways they could have been written. And to be honest, I'm pretty surprised they weren't, because this is really simple stuff. I think even a 15-year-old could have written a better plot here. And we're talking about Japanese writers at Capcom that are supposed to be professionals in the industry. Jesus, how did they do this bad?
Yeah, I agree. There's
exactly.
like boundaries around it.
Aren't they hiring somebody with a college or university degree? Like, how did they do this bad? How have they literally...
They found a bum on the street and it's like, hey, you like making up cool stories? Yeah, man, sure. Here you go. We'll give you this here sandwich and you come in here and write this for us. Oh, okay, man. Oh, wait, never mind. That's Chicago. Yes, it's a chill sandwich.
It's one of a kind.
And then apparently Evelyn can teleport. Oh my god. And that was just never hinted at, explained, or anything. You can't even explain that through mold, to be honest.
Well,
The way I see it-
at first it's the hallucination thing, but the hallucination can still actually cause you harm and still shows up on video for some fucking reason.
So what about
Never
Evelyn being at the mansion and then all of a sudden she's... Oh yeah, about that, Ashley. We'll get into that, by the way. Trust me, we'll get into that. But first off, Evelyn's at the mansion and then she's on the ship and she's transforming and moving Ethan around with giant tentacles, apparently. Okay, so she can teleport now. Okay, understood. That's why she doesn't attack you at all during the game, because she wants you to be part of the family, and then once she becomes hostile to you, she still doesn't attack you, because she's, just why? Just fuck it, why not? Why not still help Ethan out, even though he obviously doesn't want to be part of the family and you're hostile against him now, but still help him out, because why the fuck not, right? Why not? Plot reasons, because fuck it, why not? That's literally what we're given, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, because of reasons, that is it.
And then the teleportation, not even explained. We're not even going to hint at that one.
Yeah, the teleportation. But it's even the case of, like, obviously when you first get infected, she appears to you as a little girl and, like, it's a hallucination, right? But number one, the hallucination can still hurt you. And the fact is, at that point, when Mia's perspective on the bloody camera, and it's like, all right, and she goes, fucking hallucinations. How come it shows up on the video? I'm sorry, it doesn't work. Hallucinations don't work like that. They don't show up on a fucking video just because it's from someone's perspective. I'm sorry, but because of reasons and because of Resident Evil isn't a fucking answer. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, because you even within a... Right, let's put it this way, and I understand what you mean, Ashley, perfectly, so I'm going to put in an example that gives everybody that light bulb, yeah? In Mass Effect... you get the law of humans. Humans have to have that matter implemented into them at birth to get the psychic powers or whatever, right? In that story. Now imagine there was a human that just said, "No, I have none of that," and didn't go to one of those special facilities they set up with schools and everything and experiments. No, I'm just a natural born human for absolutely no reason. Everyone would just be pissed off. And you know what? You actually know if Mass Effect did that, you'd later find out in some documents or something that they were an experiment. They wouldn't just leave it completely underhand, just open, just like, fuck it, why not? Because once they've established a rule, they follow through with it. And that's the thing, right? You don't say in Mass Effect, oh, they have psychic powers. Oh my god, that's why the fuck's that? Because they establish it well. So when Resident Evil 7 establishes that there's hallucinations in the actual VHS tapes, they have to stick with that rule now. They have to stick with it. They can't just throw it out the window like, yeah, we'll just use it sometimes, not use it other times, and then write some information regarding the rules of how this works, but then the actual things you see don't actually match up with the rules we've established. Well, that's when it just becomes bullshit.
And it's like the other one, it's like, obviously, at the beginning, the dinner scene, for example, right? Obviously, something unbeknown has gone on with Ethan, and he is, like, in certain ways infected. But if you're looking at the actual law of this bullshit fucking plot hole-ridden fucking story, it's like, when you first get infected, she'll appear to you as a little girl. Right, so when we're sat at the dinner scene, we're strapped to a chair. You've got fucking old Evelyn. You've got Lucas throwing food at you. You got Jack. You got Marguerite, and obviously they see Evelyn in the wheelchair as a little girl. Right? Yeah, family dinner. Blah blah blah.
In their
bullshit.
perspective, yeah, that's how I see it. She's probably like twirling her legs on the end of a chair as a little girl to them.
Yeah, and Ethan sees old woman. So obviously, he can still have his bloody limbs strapped back on, so he's got some sort of residual infection, but nope, he's not seen her as a little girl.
That or Zoe is a master expert because apparently she knows all about cures and medicine and all that jazz.
Yeah,
What Zoe?
Cures that don't work.
I mean, on my stream, if anybody watched, I actually look over what Zoe does when she just puts in the head and the arm into literally like a little bleach container and pulls out 2 syringes in 2 seconds. She is a genius.
Magic.
She's also a magician.
You want to see
For my next trick,
Yeah. I feel like she had the syringes all along. She was just trying to like, oh, look at me, Ethan, I'm so cool. Go almost kill yourself for 4 hours so I can do you with this optical illusion. Ha! Like fucking Zoe. What a bad character.
She wanted to pull one last magic trick before she knew she was screwed.
and this is why she's dead to me.
She's like, when Ethan gets out of here and he goes home, he's gonna look back on this and think, damn, that was a really good magic trick.
I sure wished I had the time to ask her how she did it.
I find it annoying how all the promotional, like, material, like for some of the trailers and like the demo itself, with all these cryptic messages from Zoe, we're really building her up to be this like really massive character, and then like just halfway through the game, it's just like no, like gone.
And then
Like
the
seriously, she's so
But we
worthless.
just can't be asked. It's like we was gonna, and then
It feels
when
like
everyone
that.
started doing the Ada Wong theory, we thought, oh my god, why didn't we think of that? It's like they thought, why didn't we think of that on our own fucking game? It's just, it
Because
doesn't make sense.
petty shit
right,
with
so
Capcom.
to describe what Capcom's doing lately, by the way, guys, because I do know where the company's going now, right? They're starting to do their trailers in cryptic ways that make the game look like it's something much more elaborate than it actually is. And just to explain this, by the way, if you look at the Revelations trailer campaign, there was actually a scene in that, in one of the trailers, where there's 2 Chris's and he's talking to himself, and everyone was like literally thinking, is this a clone? You know, what is this, somebody that's been genetically changed? You know, like they've just had their face modified to look like Chris so they could be a secret agent or something, and is that the real Chris or what? And in the final game, guess what it was? It was just a doll, literally. It was a doll that didn't even move or talk, that was used as a ruse to get you into a room to get you gassed. But in the trailer, it was 2 Chris's talking to each other and like some really cryptic, like PTSD level stuff. You know, it was really intense. It's just a doll to get you gassed. It's just a trap by the enemy organization, and Chris isn't even there. He's not even on the ship. This is what I mean. They're putting in trailers loads of cryptic stuff to make everybody theorize, because then everybody makes a plot that Capcom hasn't actually wrote, and the real plot's just so simple in comparison. So everyone's like, is Chris got PTSD and is hallucinating, blah 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 blah, and the real plot is literally, it's just a doll in a room to trap you by an enemy, literally. It doesn't even talk or anything.
But didn't Revelations have like a major rewrite anyway?
The point
Yeah.
is though, is in those trailers that they were close to release, and on top of that, if they did let's theoretically say they rewrote after the trailers, you would obviously want to put that towards your fan base. But here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
The trailer was in the room where you find the fake doll of Chris. It's obvious it wasn't a rewrite at that point. It's obvious they were just trying to mislead people.
Yeah, it was the announcement trailer though, and that's when it wasn't like near release. It was like when it was first announced at the 3DS.
All right, I was told something else.
It's a very old trailer.
The thing is, it was still in that same room, because you can see the background of it all. You can see the door with the little letterbox thing in the middle of it, you know, so you can see through it. And also,
Yeah.
they kept all of that and all the assets in the game. And like I said, if they do a rewrite like that, it is their responsibility to communicate that towards the fan base, because fan bases are still going to talk about those issues. They're still going to talk about the trailers, the implications. And like I said, they create a much more elaborate plot than is actually there. So look at Resident Evil 7, for example. And we've got the entire point about Zoe in the trailers in Tape 1 that we talked about. And she was, and in all the phone calls and in the beginning hour demo, etc., she was hyped up to be like a really, really big character. And when you
Major mastermind.
Yeah, and when you got in game...
Something massive. Story central.
Yeah. And also is the fact that in the beginning hour demo, and here's another little thing that annoys me, another inconsistency that they've established that makes...
Besides her accent?
No, no. Everyone forgets about this, but this is something that's very much established in the lore, and then they just remove it and completely ignore it after that, which is the Ghost Girl, which I actually had data mined people get the model up, and the asset was actually Mia, by the way. It was actually Mia, FYI, the Ghost Girl.
Oh, yeah.
They'd even used the photogeometric techniques, and you can even see that in the C-Deck imagery of that same dress and girl. So they'd use her actor for it and everything. So why the fuck did they just put that in the demo and remove it? It's not because they'd rewritten something. It's not because there's certain things they rewrite, like you said in Revelations. But then, honestly, looking at Revelations, I don't think they ever intended for there to be a Chris clone. That's a really stupid idea. I literally think they had this intention from the start with Revelations. They were just going to mislead people. Like, look at Resident Evil 7, sorry, as I just said, with Zoe, with the Ghost Girl of Mia and things. They put elements in there, and then they just scrap them. But they still carry on advertising them. That's the point, right? And they never communicate anything to anyone. Like, at this point, we're basically led to believe that half of the beginning hour demo is canon and half isn't, and it's just up to you to figure out what it is until the real game comes out. Because when the real game comes out, they release the same VHS tape, and the Ghost Girl isn't even in it, as to what I've heard anyway. Nobody's been able to proc her.
No.
So
It's just not there at all.
you know how that's just false advertisement. That's not cryptic. That's not rewriting. That's not fun. That's just false advertisement to make the plot look more elaborate.
I think with the way they did that with the beginning our demo, it's because fuck all actually happened during the first release of it. It was just obviously a get a feel of what's happening, you know, how story's going to be like told, like with videotapes. And I think it was because of the first part, nothing actually happened. They just did that so people would go, oh, there's a Ghost Girl sighting. Let's see if there's anything. And then it turns out there's so many of them.
Spooky sightings.
And everyone was trying to like figure something out of what's it all to do with. And it was just Capcom's way of giving us the fingers. Basically, it's Capcom giving us the fingers.
Yeah, because you also have the Ghost Girl sighting, which I'll establish in two ways. Because first off, that goes into your point, Ashley, the Ghost Girl sighting. It literally further implicates that there is a ghost element to this. But then here's the thing, we learn in game that you only get hallucinations if you're infected. So the only reason they would know about ghost sightings is infected individuals that are literally under Evelyn's control and have a kill limit around where they're not allowed to leave Evelyn's area too much or they'll get killed. So how the fuck have these rumors spread? How? It's just
Exactly, because even in the game it talks about the fucking, ghost sightings, and it's in the local paper and stuff. It's like ghost sightings in the bayou. And,
so is everyone infected?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
But they're not. That's the thing, because not the entire town is under control, which is obvious from the police officer. If he'd fucking passed through an infected town, he'd know. So, and obviously, there's also a kill limit around Evelyn, apparently. So, no, they literally, they don't even fucking care, dude. They don't even care to patch this stuff up. Like I said, they also had the VHS tape, right? The way I saw it in the beginning hour is Clancy, Pete, and Andre never reacted to the Ghost Girl. But she was on the VHS tape. So to me, and Ashley had this thing that, it's like, maybe it's like Fatal Frame, right? And that made sense to me. No, it wasn't like Fatal Frame. It wasn't like anything. That was just thrown in there to fucking say, hey, speculate this is for 6 months, making it look awesome, and then we're just going to remove it, and it's not even going to be in the game at all. We're even going to remove it from the VHS tape in the full game. But we're still going to make references to it in newspapers, because fuck, dude, we got to be inconsistent, We can't remove it all and keep it consistent. I just feel like they cut so much content. I feel like these things were supposed to be in the full game. They just cut it because they keep doing this with every game. They make trailers of what they want to make, and then they cut it and give you something else.
Yeah, and there's 2 points to be made here. And me and you, Avid, have two different feelings on the execution of this game. You're saying, which was you get a very strong Metal Gear 5 vibe from this game overall. While, yes, the gameplay, we all here can agree. Please don't get us wrong, everyone.
It was awesome.
The gameplay is fucking awesome, and we love it a lot.
I will talk about that later, by the way, guys. I'm not completely unhappy with the game. And like Nog just said, I have Metal Gear Solid 5 vibes with it. And just for reference, by the way, guys, I've played hundreds upon hundreds of hours of Metal Gear Solid 5. I think it was an abysmal story, an abysmal Metal Gear Solid game, but to this day, I would recommend it to any stealth fan as the first game to play, because it is one of the best stealth games it is the stealth game of the year, if even being game of the year for the entire year, while being a completely 1. And I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. It's a 1 out of 10 Metal Gear Solid game.
Yeah.
But that's the vibes I get with Resident Evil 7, guys. So like we said, we're not completely trash talking it, but we do want to go over the fair criticisms first, and then we'll talk about the good elements afterwards, because I'm the kind of guy that's like, bad news first, good news afterwards, and then after you feel like on a better vibe because you have the good news last.
Yeah,
Exactly.
a conclusion and evaluation. Just
Yeah.
to like sugarcoat it and end it off. But
like I've kind of been sort of just, I acknowledge that there's plot holes and there's issues, but they just sort of, I don't know, I just choose to not let them really bother me as much because I don't know, I just didn't get into too much information, I guess. But yeah, like, I guess I just choose to sort of do the ignorance is bliss thing, but I know deep down, yeah, there's issues, but I just feel like I have the ability to overlook them. But if I really did like think about it too much, I probably would end up on that same level of,
hatred.
yeah, disappointment, obviously. I mean, it's there, but it's just, when you just like,
yeah, you can ignore it.
You can ignore it because there is a lot of good stuff about the game still. I think it's more down the line. I'll probably get more and more pissed off about it when I've played the game more and more. I think it still feels fresh in my mind. Like there's still stuff that I'm
Shadow,
currently...
you ever had a game you loved but a company you hated?
I'll have to think about that.
You loved the game but you hated the company? Because you loved the gameplay but you just kept hating what the company did with updates or how they advertised it or something.
Destiny.
Alright, what would you say is your key, like, just try to summarize it quickly why you feel that way about Destiny?
Like it was basically, it felt like, well, it was kind of explained really with all like the lawsuits and stuff. They had a lot of story content completely cut out from the game because of like, I don't know, like certain writers and I think a certain writer left and then things got really confusing and stuff. Like I didn't read, I can't remember very well because this was like a year ago, but basically a lot of content suffered for it, and then to
really
compensate for that they just made DLC. I really enjoyed the gameplay and I really loved the co-op elements and stuff, but I couldn't help but feel like there was a generic story which was like a consequence of like all these things that are going on behind the scenes.
Do you understand why I don't want to sugarcoat or just try and hide or repress why?
Yeah, no, I'm all for like expressing your opinion. It's more just like from my perspective, I can just sort of at the moment I can sort of ignore things. Like when Destiny first came out, I was able to ignore it, but then I don't know, just as like months and months down the line, and as the DLC came out, which was obviously overpriced, but it was like the only way they were gonna actually sort of give an actual story to the game with the Dark Below DLC. Not the Dark Below, the Taken King.
Yeah, I do want to kind of get back to RE7. That's why I said try and summarize it quickly, because I don't want to make this podcast too off topic, because it is going to be a long one, Shadow. This one.
It's because it's Destiny is an empty, shallow mess that shat itself.
Yeah,
that sums it up.
Yeah, but my point is, Shadow, you obviously understand that even if you enjoy the games, you've got to criticize the companies like this if you ever hope for a change, right? Because that is important, to criticize to get change. Even actually, I would say if you're a true fan of a series, a true fan, you should be the one first to criticize because you adore the material
I
so
completely criticized Resident Evil 6. I was just really disappointed with that. Like, this is the thing, it doesn't disappoint me as much as that game does. I think that's one of the things which probably makes me not as disappointed, because it could be much worse in that sense.
And would you agree with this perception then? Resident Evil 7 is a better game than Resident Evil 6, but the story is worse.
I agree.
That's sad, isn't it? That truly is sad, to be honest.
I am disappointed with Capcom. I'm just still enjoying the game. That's basically about it.
What had more plot holes, RE6 or 7?
7, obviously.
What was
after the whole rant I heard you guys the other day,
what was more consistent to the source material, 6 or 7? 6 was, sorry. Like it's abysmal how much 7 just strays from everything, and then they just try to make up for it because they say it's an isolated, self-contained story. Well, if it is, why are you putting mentionings of companies and viruses and then censoring a bunch of the information? That's just being a dick when you've provided so little content and cut so much, to be honest. To add that as well, censoring the little information we get, I thought that was the biggest dick move they could throw.
May as well.
You mean those little boxes that are filled in on the papers?
Yeah, and they've got redacted comments from them so you can't see them.
That made me so mad.
Yeah, it was like, I thought, okay, maybe we'll get some, I actually thought we'll get some further hint of that. That's like the foreshadowing for what we're going to get to see at the end or something. Nope. Just, I'm Redfield, brah. You want to get on my helicopter and get out of here? Like, that's all we got. Like, oh my god, are you serious? That was the ending? That's it?
1 out of 10, there was no rocket launcher.
Exactly.
Nobody shot a sniper rifle either. I'm disappointed.
Sniper rifle doesn't matter. Rocket launcher and helicopters every end game.
It's got to be one of the two, dude. Like, sometimes it starts off with a sniper rifle and then switches to a rocket launcher. You ever see Revelations 2 and Ada's scene? That's what she does right there. You got to have a bit of both, man. There's always sniper rifles in a Resident Evil now. It's established.
Whoa, bro. You're giving out these spoilers, man. I didn't know.
The movies don't count.
In Revelations 2, the game that's like a year and a half old.
Revelations 2 ruined.
Oh my god, they used an RPG in Revelations. I could have never figured that out. From a helicopter too? Oh my god, in a Resident Evil game? What?
Subscribe.
It's like Resident Evil 5 all over again.
Yeah, I'm so heartbroken.
The one thing what I really wanted to push on, like the whole gameplay thing, is like on our last podcast, it was a point what I had wrote down in front of me and I still forgot to talk about, and I think now it kind of feels more relevant to this fucking dog's wash of a fucking story. It's like, there's one thing I wanted to talk about was a game what I had played many years before called Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth. Have any of you played it?
I've heard of
Heard
it.
of the story.
Seen it now.
Right. Well, basically, right, when I was first looking at the Resident Evil 7 stuff, it was like, okay, so all right, first person action game, HUD-less display, everything good. The place where you are feels like the enemy. You're not overwhelmed by masses of enemies and stuff like that. And it felt like you was in a horror element of a game. And I thought, this is what I had played. In, going back to Call of Cthulhu, basically, it was the first person game whatever tried, HUD-less display. You start like the first couple of hours, apart from the shootout at the beginning, you have no weapons, and you go to a small town investigating a missing person, trying to find your wife, comparisons here. And then, small town, no one wants to talk to you and stuff. And then you check into a local inn, you're about to go to sleep, you don't feel really, really safe. So you lock your door in your the room of the inn, and then you lock the adjacent door, and then you fall asleep. And about an hour after being asleep, you get woken up by the townsfolk trying to burst in your room and kill you. And that you spend the next hour of the game on the run, weaponless, trying to stealth from point A to point B. And the place where you are, everything feels like the enemy. A random dog barking will stray enemies towards your location, and you feel so helpless. And that's what I thought when I was like looking at the original source material for Resident Evil 7, and then they started doing the whole cat and mouse things with Jack, and I was thinking, this is what horror needs to go back to, and it's what it was. But the thing is, with the game, Call of Cthulhu has aged terribly. But the story, the voice acting, the actual the horror feel and everything about it has aged really well. But the thing is, it had such a consistent, good story. About halfway through the story, it turns into a shooter, and it loses a bit of its sense of horror. But there was still parts what would play with your mind, and like when you're like looking at like Cthulhu statues too long, your character would pull out his gun and commit suicide and shit like that. That was the good stuff. What was all about the horror, and that's what I was hoping. That's what I was praying for. A nice immersive story with a brilliant first-person perspective, brilliant gameplay. The gameplay, for me, apart from a few minor hiccups, the gameplay is flawless. But you need a good story to back up a game like that. And it was a mediocre wrote by a 7-year-old with learning difficulties. That's what it seemed like. And That is what really, really wound me up because I was expecting so fucking much from it, and it's not what we got. And I would say out of that, a game that was released in 2000, Call of Cthulhu, fucking hands down a better game. Story wise, better game. Gameplay wise, not so much anymore, but it has aged really well. You know what I mean? So if something what is that old can have an immersive feel, why couldn't Resident Evil 7 actually do what they set out to originally do? That's my only gripe, really.
My last point before earlier was when I mentioned about the Metal Gear Solid 5 syndrome from him. My point of view from this is very much a case of what happened to one of my favorite series, which was the Silent Hill series.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense that later on in the series, it went away so far from the established lore. You see, that's the key thing that we're all trying to come across here. There must be consistency within the lore itself. Now, I know a lot of people, and trust me, one of these days I will get to my own rant on this. Don't you worry. But you've got to stick to the established lore, not bits and pieces that seem suit you.
That you cherry pick for the game.
Exactly. Now, everyone picks on, you say, Silent Hill 2, like, oh, it was the best one because of this, this, and this. Well, yes, these elements are fantastic, and they're great. But the original source material still ties to this game. Games from Origin on ignored it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid is happening with Resident Evil 7. Not just cut content, because as shitty as that is, I'm more worried about the consistency because there's also evidence of major lore consistencies from Resident Evil 7 compared to the previous ones. Major lore consistency problems.
Like how, for example, is an Umbrella helicopter flying over the USA when they're literally being hunted by the US government? And as we all know, the US military is nothing to make a joke of. Like, it makes no sense. It actually, even if you had the technology and capability and influence to fight the US government, you wouldn't be flying a helicopter with your fucking logo right over their soil. If Russia was going to make a stealth attack on America before they made the main incursion, for example, they wouldn't be doing it by fucking sending around Russian people in Russian fucking uniforms of soldier outfits, you know what I mean? They'd be doing it stealthy like they do with sleeper agents. The fact that it's just so stupid. It's like, so you threw that in, okay? So you could have like a little nod to like Umbrella, yeah? Why the fuck didn't you just do it in a document and then like have the helicopter there but without a logo, but then like you see like a little Umbrella logo on like a box when you finally get in it inside the helicopter, and then it actually makes sense. And oh my fucking
subtlety is key.
Yeah, and that subtlety would also reward people with better eyes and perception and who take more notice and pay attention. And it would also, I think, when you have subtlety, it shows an intelligent writer, and people appreciate it even more so than just having it directly said so.
Exactly.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there.
But that's the whole point that we are trying to get here, is from a standpoint of everything that is established for Resident Evil. I mean, for fuck's sake, look at this. We're at the 7th major labeled Resident Evil game. We're not trying to count spinoffs. They do have their place. Even the spinoffs, no shit, have like more ties to the actual plot of the Resident Evil established.
I won't go into it too much. I'm not going to derail your point, but I think this game should have been a spinoff. I do think it should have been, honestly.
I agree.
But carry on with your point.
A major one.
But yeah, but the major point that we're trying to make is this: we are this far in, and now we're starting to see major detraction from the established lore of the Resident Evil series. Like I said, these are not minor things. These are things that really start to make you question, wait a minute, what's going on?
It's story derailing completely.
Not just story, but characters. Teleportation.
You can now view the souls of the dead and have hallucinations with dead people and alive people all in the same area. Okay.
And a small child.
Cool.
And a small child who is able to barf this large amount of black mold, so much of it, in fact, that when she was on that ship for who knows how long she was freed, which probably wasn't that long, I can't say for sure, but
Less
probably
than an
was not
hour.
that long,
Just
and then
about
can
the time
literally
stamp
cause
on the
that
tape.
ship to break itself in half.
Yes. Judging by the timestamp on the tape from when she was only just free and what's his face was getting really sick, by the end of the tape, the timestamp was like an hour and 15 minutes. So, yeah, fuck you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you think about the ship as well, there's no way that they would have been in an emergency for that long because based on the people's reactions from Mia's hallucinations. So it literally, she must have shut out enough mold to break that ship in half in, like you just said, about an hour to 2 hours max. That
And
is
not only
ludicrous.
that, let's not even get actually no, fuck it. Let's get into the problems with the whole point of the ship on the side or in the bayou in Louisiana for 3 years.
Yeah.
And no one in that time from either BSAA or Umbrella Corps or who the fuck ever is the one who created this little biohazard chick. And no one's even found it. Not only that, they couldn't find it. Hold on. Oh, no. Not only that, but the fact that that risk codex also has built-in GPS tracking.
Yeah.
Which, mind you, the one that Ethan is wearing, just for the ones that didn't put it together, is in fact the one Mia was wearing 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone isn't
Seriously.
paying attention either, it also seems like Zoe gave that to Ethan. Meaning that she literally had a wristwatch with GPS to an organization that could have stopped the virus and she never used it.
And massive
3
tankers
years
like
prior.
that have their own fucking transponders in there, and the ship still had power somehow, by the way. So all of that would have that ship was like a massive blinking fucking sore thumb on a radar for 3 years, and no prick even decided to go look for it. It's
Commissioner
bullshit.
Davis, what do you think about the ship that disappeared 3 years ago today?
Ignore that, motherfucker. We don't need to know that.
Shouldn't we track the GPS, sir?
Hold on.
Alright, guys, I've got a structured way to do all of this, yeah? A very structured way, because I thought about this point in depth, yeah? So I'll start off from the start, right at the start, and we'll just go through it slowly, because this is one of the biggest plot holes of all, and it's going to take a while. But you start off on the ship. So Mia and her partner, which I forget the name of him. Does anyone remember?
Alan.
Alright, Mia and Alan are hired by an organization. We don't know which one specifically yet. Probably Umbrella, but maybe not. And they have got Evelyn, which has been imprinted to see Alan and Mia as a mother and father. So what they've basically done is they want to ship Evelyn to another country, of course, to America from some other country, which it doesn't really matter what country that is at the moment. All we know of is if you're going to ship, right, first off, they've got the capability to create Evelyn, to imprint mother and father things into a child, which means that they can really manipulate genetics to it and neurology to a very high degree, yet they can't, they have to secure passage on a ship for a super large powerful BOW because they've got all that expertise and money apparently, but they fucking need to, because the ship they were on was literally full of like workers who didn't even know them. They weren't employees of some organization or something. They were just normal workers. It was a normal ship. Why did they get passage onto that and not use another ship of their own creation that would have had a locker room for Evelyn and everything?
Fucking helicopter.
Or a helicopter or a plane. Anything. And this, whatever device they would have used would have obviously had a locker room for Evelyn and precautions set up. So what do you guys think about that for a start? Let's just keep it to this topic because I'll go through it all slowly.
I think it's batshit crazy and fucking stupid. Why even bother doing that? As I said, put them on a helicopter, strap her to a drone, attach her to 50 fucking carrier pigeons and send them that way. Do anything. Not put her on a civilian ship, for fuck's sake.
Imagine it as a little girl just being fucking...
Here's the thing, though. It is not a civilian ship. It is a ship for transporting fuel.
We'll get into this. We'll go into. I've already got this in mind where we're going.
Right.
Just keep it to this. So, what do you think about them not using their own transport?
It's retarded.
Yeah,
It's retarded.
It doesn't
but
make
it's
any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. But the only one shred of brain power, what I would have thought they would have done it is if they was trying to do something underhand and remain undetected. That is the only way I can put any sort of defense to that one reason.
On that topic, I could just think of an instant fuck you, that argument's invalid, which is literally an organization that has the money to manipulate the genomes of a child into a super BOW has enough to literally create a fake organization that is just a civilian ship, purchase their own cruise ship with its actually a cruise ship. Realistically, it's a real organization. There is a perfect cover. They could afford that with pocket change, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense unless what whoever wrote this whole character probably thought, oh, well, maybe they'll be able to tie it to my umbrella corporation or whatever, or it could be easily traced. And what's that ship? What's that company shipping taking passage on a ship to what are they transporting? Oh, let's go and investigate them. But they couldn't find the ship anyway, so they're going to stop talking.
And also, you could have just had it as a shadow corporation. That was my point. They literally create a new organization under somebody else's name, not even affiliated with them, and just literally have a ship, or just pay somebody off who owns a ship, dude. There's so many ways you could have gone about that. The fact they decided... Right, so we'll get into the next point anyway, unless anybody else has anything to say about them not using their own transport.
No. I'm just like, that was my opinion the other day, it's garbage. They're dumb.
Alright, so the next topic is, they decide not to use their own transport. Why the fuck do they use an oil tanker? Because in their own established documents, and this is in written writing by Capcom themselves, they literally created the Evelyn family imprint system and had Ethan and Mia and Alan transport her so they looked like a normal family and they weren't suspicious. That was the entire point, that they'd be discreet. So why the fuck did they put them on an oil tank? Because even in documents, people were questioning why there was a family on the ship and it was weird and blah 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 and this, that and the other, and they were suspicious of them. It's literally just a literal creation of suspicion, that situation. And just like Ashley was saying, if they were trying to do these things to keep anybody investigating them, wouldn't it be a bit suspicious a family had managed to illegally, because you're not allowed to do this legally, gain access and stow away on a fucking oil ship or fuel ship, because that's what it seemed to be.
Why not just blend with a cruise or something?
Exactly, where they look completely natural. I mean, how the fuck do you even get through? How the fuck do you even get through border and immigration control and not look dodgy? Yeah, we're just a family that came off that fucking fuel ship there. Here's our little girl.
Get in the van, will we fucking beat you or beat the information out of you? Go on, in the van.
The only logical explanation is literally that they have that much influence and money, they could secretly get Evelyn, Mia, and Alan past border control without anybody saying anything or even noticing them. But if they had that level of influence, they wouldn't be using someone else's ship in the first place. It's an oil tanker. It all is inconsistent. It's fucking inconsistent and retarded. None of this adds up. So, what do you guys think about that? The fact that
I think you pretty much summed it up in your rage right then.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's kind of...
And also, I'd just say, a company of this fucking worth could probably ship her through a submarine, to be quite honest. Honestly, they could get even a civilian
I'm pretty sure
submarine.
they've got about 6 on the books.
Yeah, so there you go. None of this makes sense. So the next point, we'll move on, right, is that in a document in the end game, in the credits, it actually says that when you're transporting the Evelyn Bioseries weapon, that crate, which it makes a specific reference to, contains the cure and for the Evelyn to kill her, and an antivirus for you, for the carriers, the people who are imprinted as a family, which would be Alan and Mia. But there's no reference to that in the actual game. They just decided to disregard that completely.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and yeah, my main thing with this is like, I'm quite knowledgeable in like biology and stuff like that. And if you have an antivirus or what is in your body, it is mainly made of the genes of the actual virus. So if you get infected with the virus, the dormant genes become active. They attack the virus and then replicate it into more of an antivirus, and then they go lying dormant. You cannot be reinfected with the thing what you have an antivirus or a vaccine already in your system for. So there we go again. Massive fucking plot holes.
Yeah, and even disregarding that, because I also want to try and bullshit past that, Ashley, even now, I'll just put it in established law. It's no outside perspective. They said they had the cure. You don't even have to use an outside perspective now, so there's no debating it. They said they had the cure, which means they tested it. So either they tested the cure, it worked, and then it just didn't work for absolutely no reason, or they tested the cure, it didn't work, and they just said, oh, well, we'll give you a cure anyway for absolutely no reason. It's just fucking inconsistent, even in their own established law. So there's no debate against that argument at all.
Mm-hmm. Fuck it. But you use Jill Valentine from the whole fact that she got infected by Nemesis, and then her body seems to be immune to all of the other TNG virus-based stuff anyway. And the same
Didn't
with
they
like
even
fucking
say
Jake
her
Mueller's
body
blood.
was enhanced a bit by it as well?
Exactly.
And in this,
So yeah, basically everything what they spent all them years fucking writing, they can just abolish with a fucking psychotic girl who's now an old woman. Bullshit. No. I'm not having it. I am not having it. I am not having it.
This is more of the fact that they've just, like Nog said before and Shadow have said, is that they're just completely disregarding the established rules that they've already wrote in the series. It's completely broken.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, so what about the fact that, just talking about the shit further on, right? What about the fact that Evelyn, as a design, can create molded by herself with no... Right, so she can apparently shit out so much mold she can create armies of molded within hours, literally, right? So what is the point in even needing to convert the enemies into more molded? What is even the point of that? Like, you know how much money that would cost to developers an additional ability that is absolutely useless? You're talking trillions. Why? Why, if she's completely already a nuke? It's like saying this, right? Imagine you have a nuke, because that's what she is, a BOW nuke, yeah? Imagine you have a nuke, an actual nuke, but it has the ability to turn enemies it hits into allies, and then it kills them anyway, a second later. Like, but it would cost you trillions more to develop that ability. What the fuck is the point? It makes no sense at all. At all.
I'm trying to think of a point.
I'm trying to think of a smart ass answer, and I haven't even got one.
The only thing I could think of,
They should have broke dance instead, so that way you at least see the change.
I'm going to play devil's advocate as hard as I can both ways, though. The only thing I can think of is she can literally inject a mold into a local water supply and convert an entire village within an hour. But then I just think of this. Or she could just kill them all, which was her purpose, to kill things. Literally. She could just infect the water supply, which she does anyway, and kill everybody.
Well, she is still a weapon, so...
So what's the point of changing enemies? It goes back to the nuke argument. If she can just infect all the water and kill everyone, what's the point in changing them? The point is just... Because if you think about BOWs, they are supposed to be short-term weapons to gain political control.
It could be like a defensive mechanic, design allies to, sort of guard her from
but she could just create
incoming dangers.
Or maybe it's like... maybe it would be like a Trojan horse effect, like, so you've still got people who appear normal, and you can have your lackeys of molded, where it don't matter if they get limbs removed.
That normal thing wasn't what it was said. It said they would create molded enemies. Like, the bakers are just an inconsistency that also isn't explained, by the way. That isn't how the virus normally works. In the lore, it says it creates molded. Like, it infects people into the molded creatures, so they won't be incognito sleeper agents for you. Like, it's just a plot hole, dude. And the bakers, that doesn't even work as, like, an explanation, because that's a plot hole, because they never even knew of that.
As I said, I was trying to think of a smart ass answer, and I couldn't think of one. So I tried to use some sort of brain power on that one, and it still didn't work.
It's because, as I said before, you're trying to write better than Capcom did for them.
I know. And that's the problem. They could have put me in a fucking room with a couple of A4 bits of paper and a fucking bottle of whiskey, and I would have fucking shut out the best story they've ever fucking had.
So, more inconsistencies, by the way, because I think the ship argument's been completely debunked. That made absolutely no fucking sense. Neither did the serum box they had that didn't have the cure or kill for Evelyn or anything like that. None of that made sense. So, going into the other points then, is that, basically, you have Mia, the bakers, right? They're infected, but they're not molded for some fucking reason, whatever that is. Why is it that the bakers are completely normal when they're chasing you and you're attacking them, but Mia changes into this weird form? It just, why? I know you'll say, because the common answer to this is going to be genetics. Mia's obviously genetically different. I think that's what they're going with anyway. Oh god, Nog. Nog, disconnect and reconnect. Your microphone's broke, Nog.
Maybe maybe because she was antivirus, her body was trying to fight the effects of being infected. That is the only thing I could think of.
Then why the fuck did Alan's cure not work? If they had cure,
Test.
yeah, that works, Nog.
All right, what I was saying was
why
not
actually?
quite.
Why didn't they just? Do you see my point? Right? They could have
I
achieved.
do, yeah, I do.
They could have achieved the same result. Just kill Alan by a molded. Literally have a molded impale him right there in front of me. Would have achieved the same result without any bullshit of inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Because why was Alan's cure? Because that's the implication I got from it all. Actually, was that they didn't have a cure because Alan and Mia were obviously preemptively hit by it, but then it didn't work for Alan. It did work for Mia somewhat, apparently. Zoe it didn't work for at all. Mia it didn't work for a second time, even though she had more of the cure injected into her, and she apparently already had the cure in her, so it made no sense to give her the cure, but whatever. And then Ethan, he just doesn't even get affected by it. Like, dude, no, doesn't even get in, he's fucking...
That's what you get when you eat healthy, kids. Take your vitamins. You can end up like Ethan.
He has hallucinations, but he's not under control, because,
Yeah.
Well, if I don't know, it's a bit of a jump fist, but like, what if like it goes for the whole, because you're in the perspective of Ethan, you don't see what people outside of Ethan see. Like, maybe from the Baker's perspective, they can see a crazy fucking lunatic Ethan that's like all infected and stuff, whilst an Ethan already could be normal.
No, that is inconsistent, because then Lucas wouldn't have his arm cut off by Jack. That makes no sense either. Like, think about it.
He's really tripping hard.
Yeah, no, really think about it, right? If Evelyn was making, because I understand your point, Shadow. That's what I was thinking originally before the game came out, how it worked, like the Mass Effect indoctrination theory, yeah. But then I thought, well, how do you make Jack cut off Lucas's arm, but he still recognizes that it's Lucas?
Yeah, he did go to take food off his plate. That's why he chopped his arm off.
And why did they then tie a demon up at the dinner and try and convert him into their family? It doesn't make any... You see my point, Shadow? It really doesn't make any sense. There is explanations that could have worked, Shadow. That's what we're going at. But Capcom decided not to go with the logical stuff, and we're actually writing more logical than they're giving. You're giving them more credit than they do. Literally, if you actually think about it, it doesn't work, because they created another inconsistency that contradicts whatever you say. No matter what explanation you tried to come up with, because God, dude, I wanted to love this game. I tried to come up with so many explanations, but every time I'd just be like, no, because then that happened in the game. That happened in the game.
Look at the fairy game. Look at the fairies, what we came out with before. Like the whole holding out in the house and the whole Mia fucking perspective, and how we was thinking all of this would have gone. And we literally fucking wrote the Baker's backstory better than the fucking people who created the Bakers did.
And inconsistencies in Evelyn's hive mind control as well. So she projects herself to the Bakers, right? And she can have conversations with them. Literally, they react to her vocally. And she conversates with them. She gets them to go around areas. And I would be even one to say she's the one leading them where to go in the mansion to find you a lot of the times, because they just pop out of nowhere. And they had no prior knowledge. It would obviously
Can I throw in 2 cents here?
Go on.
Well, apparently Lucas has been cured this entire time, yeah? Throughout the entirety of the game. So when you're obviously in Lucas's part of the thing, when you're playing his cat and mouse game, and he obviously doesn't have her control, and she can't do anything to him. He doesn't have her control element in him. In that case, why the fuck is he having a conversation with her?
I think that was
when you see him on the other side of the video. He turns and he's like, "No, Evelyn, I'm just telling him." And then not everyone wants to go back how it was when he's pulling his nails off. He's having a conversation with them, but apparently he's cured.
Could that VHS tape not have been from before?
No, that was. I'm guessing live, mate, because he wouldn't have known Ethan if it was from before.
Did he actually say Ethan in that? Was that not a
yes?
Yes.
Sorry, I was just a little bit not remembering that scene perfectly. All right, that makes no fucking sense. Literally makes no sense.
There we go. Completely debunked. So, come on, Capcom, give us some answers. I'm sorry. It's just like it doesn't work.
They'll never give us answers.
Yeah, I'm sure lots of people now are going to be all like, "You bastards! You guys are just shitting all over this game." It's like, we're trying not to do that. We just We just
We
can't
just
let
want
this
to go-
happen.
We will get
We
we
can't
will
let
get
this
into the
shit
good
slide.
points. We will get into the good points. Trust me, we will, guys. Don't be getting too cynical. Don't be hating the game yet. There's a lot of good. I will be playing this game a lot. There's a lot of good points behind
An
it.
hour in shitting on it, we better have a nice, good fucking 30 minutes of good points.
We will. But I do want to go over every inconsistency I can think of, though. So going over more, right? More inconsistencies is
Marguerite.
not Marguerite. We'll get into that later. But I had something in mind. Let me just try and think of it. It was something big. So
Yep.
we're led to believe, and from a biological, because I do know a bit about biology as well, not so much as you probably, but I do know little bits, and I'm led to believe that the reason that calcification would occur is because when the antivirus attacks the virus, and the virus, it changes it, because the virus is oversaturated, it mutates and reacts in a violent way, and because it's oversaturated in the body already, because it's already full of the body, it causes massive amounts of damage, because the body can't handle, because it's not got normal blood anymore, so it just causes massive mutations and calcification. So I could accept that same process could occur from massive amounts of kinetic damage and trauma, and that's why when you kill Marguerite, she calcifies, because you've inflicted so much massive amounts of trauma to her. Just like we learn in other games, when you do massive amounts of damage to somebody that's infected, the virus can mutate, right, to and adapt. Well, in this case, it mutates into a calcification. It's not a good adaptation. It's like a bad reaction, but it's just what happens. I can accept that. But if that was the case, then how the fuck does Jack survive so much? Like, he literally explodes his upper chest at one point and is still walking before he boils over. And then he even turns into this grotesque mutated form. And even after you kill that, he still refuses to go down. And you've chainsawed him through the head. He's mutated cysts and everything. And that's another point. When remember when you're in the chainsaw battle with Jack and you mutate, you damage him and he kneels down and his head like grows a giant cyst. To me, that was what I just said earlier about the viruses mutating to adapt, and that, you know, it was kind of like an early hint or reference to the T virus and how that works when somebody undergoes massive damage. But with the Bakers, it was inconsistent because, like I said, Jack had that and then he didn't calcify from massive damage, but Marguerite did. So it's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's a plot hole once again.
And also, if you choose the Zoe path, why did she calcify from the will of Evelyn and not from injecting the, the cure into her?
And the only explanation people come up with, because I know people love to try this stuff, is that, well, the virus and the counter virus takes a while to like react, and it took like 20 minutes, but then with Jack, and he had 20 to 30 times, no, he had like 50 to 60 times the mass of Zoe. Literally was instantaneous.
Yeah.
The way I could see Zoe calcifying or whatever is just the fact that Evelyn still does have control of, the molded, the virus and everything like that. And she just kind of like overdid it to the point where it just killed her. And she did that by will.
Then why didn't she do it to Ethan at the end when she obviously didn't want to die? Or even after she transformed?
Yeah, she this whole story, she could have just killed Ethan in an instant.
Literally, then, if you take that path. None of it's consistent. None of it. It's bullshit, dude. I've tried everything. I've tried every little theory. I've tried everything. Everything's inconsistent. Even to the previous lore. And even if you say, like I said, you can't even use the bullshit, this is a spin-off. Even if you said this isn't a Resident Evil game, it's a complete spin-off, isolated title, it's still full of self-contained plot holes. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah. It's bullshit. That's what it is. It's just bullshit.
Fun bullshit.
And now everyone's feeling depressed and cynical, and they're like, I should probably uninstall RE7. But we'll get into the good points now, because there is more inconsistencies to cover. Trust me, me and Ashley and Nog and Demo and Shadow have been over this, guys, privately. We've talked a lot more, like hours worth more of the inconsistencies. But I don't want to depress everyone and talk about it for 5 hours and shit on it all day. I want to talk about the good stuff, yeah? So
absolutely.
Let's start to get into this. So we'll go from the start, just like we have with everything else. So I think the start of the game, I'm going to try and not shit on it too much because there was a little bit of stuff that pissed me off, but the start of the game was pretty good. The fact that you're just starting out driving on a highway, you're not like, oh, Chris, this is your mission. You need to go and assassinate 5 billion zombies in this area and destroy a political de facto leader that's trying to uphold a regime or something. No, you're just some guy driving, you've got a little call and stuff going. Didn't like that there was no more backstory. Didn't like the fact that it didn't even name the guy in the phone or anything.
Good
like
points.
That.
Yep.
Good points.
But
Yeah.
I did like the start of the game. I liked how it started, isolated out. It just felt like a movie. You know what I mean? The start of a movie. You're just chilled. It's relaxing. It starts off slow. You don't really know what's going on. You could literally give somebody this. You could have put somebody in that cutscene. Didn't tell them what game it was. And they'd just be like, oh, cool, I wonder what game this is going to be like. You know what I mean? They wouldn't even know it's a horror game. And I actually really like that. And then like
the photo, literally, like, when it's showing, like, the bayou area, you know, like that water, and then, you know, Ethan driving past at a, you know, just going down the road. That part, I literally had to just tell myself, like, oh, my God, this is just a game, but that looks like
so
it's
fucking
literally
real.
fucking there. That is real.
oh, yeah, dude. And after that transition...
Graphics, awesome.
After that
That's all I'll say.
transition, you go into the actual car where you're driving it on rails, and the graphics uphold so well. Like, they transition over from the cutscene to the actual in-game, and it's just so nice and crisp clear. Even on VR, if you align it all properly, Ashley didn't align it properly, so it was blurry to him, but if you do align it properly, and you heard my friend say, Ashley, like, their mansion and stuff, they're so clear. Like, it just looks like it's real life, like it's really there. I was completely blown away by that. And then it's just got that slow start where you're just walking through the forest.
The pacing, very slow pacing, not in your face craziness. It was actually really, really just, it just eases you into it. It's like, oh, all right, so
well-paced first hour of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So
and then like the atmosphere after you get to the area, you know, of the guest house and everything.
Yeah.
The walking there, and then of course, you know, everyone playing the demo and everything, and then they're like, oh shit, it's
like
the
a
house.
sense of dread, isn't it? It's like, I have to be back here, and it feels like, oh, what's going to be different about this, like, this time around?
And walking through that door for the first time, the utter darkness that is awaiting you, it's like, this is not going to end well.
Definitely. It was a good, it's a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. And that's kind of where you realise it's like gone past the point of no return. Now what?
Yeah, and then, you know, the nice things about, you know, being able to go through the house again, and you're all like, oh, some of the things are different, you know, like, you know, you look under the closet way or the storage area under the stairs, you're like, oh, look, the voodoo doll's right there. Oh, look, that door doesn't have the black mold on it now. It's like it's just an abandoned normal house or whatever. And, well, except the crow's still in
It
there.
felt even more abandoned, but there was just this weird vibe I got from it. Like,
eeriness.
It was creepy. I just didn't. I felt really uncomfortable, basically.
It
Like,
was nice to have that nostalgia, though. I don't know why they were so weird about saying the beginning hour demo wasn't actually in the game, but I actually liked that. I don't know why they decided to advertise against it. I guess they didn't want to, like, look bad that they were reusing assets. But I liked it.
Added at the end, like last minute sort of.
Nah, that was obviously in from the start. Think about Mia's location, how you go back to it at the end of the game and everything. That was planned. That wasn't thrown in. That culminated from the start to the end of the game. Both points. That was in.
It's such an iconic location now as well. Like, you even end the game there.
Yeah. And come full circle, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what I felt.
To turn it on right now, actually start the game, go down to that area where Mia gets captured at the very beginning, where she's like, let me go, or whatever. And I want to go back to that back room, look in the corner and see if I could see the salt mines.
I did that. You can't see it. It's all, like, completely covered up.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's all brick and wall.
But yeah,
I think
let's
they
talk
missed an
about
opportunity there, honestly, because a little bit of foreshadowing like that for a really acute player would have been awesome.
Yeah,
I liked the foreshadowing they did with the photo. Like, that photo that said E, O, whatever, and, you know, you look at it and think, oh, what the hell's that? And then you obviously come back full circle.
Yeah.
You look at the photo and it all just makes sense. And you think about the documents speaking about, you know, Evelyn's aging issue and stuff like that, and you just click and it's like, she is Evelyn, the old woman is Evelyn. That confirms it all, and it just, like, that to me, it was like some really good, like build up to that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I actually appreciated the full circle there. I really did in that regard and context.
Yeah, and I'd also like back to when it was the beginning though. After the whole finding Mia and the creepiness, and then you start to go up the stairs, and then the thunderstorm out of nowhere, which was a really nice touch to add to the horror of it. You're like, oh
yeah,
no,
because then
and the
it's
banging.
like then, yeah, hearing the
banging, yeah, and you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, and
you end up going back, and then you go down the basement, and you're forced to go real slow down the steps. It's just like, this is getting really intense. Then that's when it just all goes
Dude, I'm not
in a good way.
Anymore.
In VR, I was terrified in that fucking scene. No, dude, I did remember my other podcast. Remember, I told you literally word for word in that podcast. I actually said this, yeah. I hate girls climbing stairs like they do in The Exorcist.
Yeah, and the ring and shit like that.
And then what is Mia doing?
She's crawling on all fours, twitching like a bitch.
With her hair covering her face. Lovely.
That shit is what nightmares are made of.
Absolutely.
And the growling, what she's doing, and the breathing, the little.
I liked a bit of dark comedy as well there, like when she was like, when you hit her with the axe, and then later on she's like, it fucking hurts, and I just kind of laughed when that happened.
Oh man.
Oh, and her jumping out from under that doorway there under the stairs.
Yeah. Do you think there was Do you think there was some Evil Dead influence in that side of Mia?
All I'll say is Ethan takes a beating like a boss, man. He was a domestic violence victim. His whole relationship with that bitch.
You can tell. Dude, that wasn't the first time he's taken a knife to the hand. You can actually tell that.
You know the Evil Dead reboot?
Yes.
Yeah.
The girl's actually called Mia.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she is, isn't she?
Come on, that is not a coincidence. They obviously.
No, yeah, heroin addict fucking psychopath.
Oh, and look, also Ethan lost his left hand. Like someone else.
I'm just gonna say it now. When Jack, during the not the garage battle, the basement battle for the dog head, when Jack gets the chainsaw, he goes groovy.
Yeah.
Yeah, definite fucking Evil Dead references right there.
Like we
These
said,
are the good parts.
like we said in the podcast, or Nog actually made this point. Campiness is going to be subtle, but it's still going to be there throughout the whole game, and it really did pay off in that regard.
I like it when Jack's like, Ethan.
Come here, piggy.
I think it was Norg that said it when me and him were talking. He was like, man, that Jack battle, like his final deformed stage is really intense, but the immersion gets a little broken. You just can't help but to laugh when he flops down in front of you.
Back into the cabin.
No, when he kind of just flops down in front of you and goes, fuck you. And I'm just...
Yeah, there's something just so odd about it. This big, gigantic, hideous, multi-eyed fucking thing. And then, like you shoot in the face, he goes, fuck you.
I just find it hilarious, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you.
I'm
gonna get you.
And I couldn't help but laugh.
Like it's going after a child.
I feel like when Marguerite was like, I'm gonna tear your fucking scrawny face off, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, tone down a little bit, Marguerite.
She was just running after you going, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, I'm like, okay, Marguerite.
We didn't get any of those sex scenes you were talking about, Shadow, in the previous podcast. It's unfortunate.
You know what, though?
No,
I wish there was like a bit more. I don't know if it'll be in the DLC, but like, more scenes of just Jack and Marguerite together. Like, that would have been nice.
It'll explain how she got the vagina.
It'd actually be lovely, because the daughter DLC is going to be based around Zoe, Lucas, Jack, Evelyn, and Marguerite when they were all still together, right? I fucking hope this happens because I'm gonna hate Capcom, which I'm probably gonna hate Capcom even more if they don't.
Remember, be positive.
But I hope to God that DLC starts when Jack, Marguerite, Zoe, and Lucas are normal and not infected or weird.
And maybe you're playing as one of them fighting the molded or whatever.
Or at least just see a VHS tape of it, because I thought the fact, and we talked about this in the previous podcast, and I said this in a big point, that I really, really think you're going to see the Bakers before the infection, just for like that reflection, and it'd be amazing. They decided to play it in a different way with the Jack hallucination, but they missed out on Lucas and Marguerite and Zoe in that scene, and Zoe didn't even care about her dad's death. We talked about all that bullshit, how it was just annoying and just unemotional, even in an emotional moment.
Happy thoughts.
Can you imagine if you'd seen a VHS tape of them in the past? I really hope in the daughter DLC that happens. Like you see it when they're
it's like there's a weird relationship between Zoe and Jack anyway, because even I know it's a dream sequence, and we've obviously talked about how that doesn't make sense, but there's still clearly implied that there is a disconnect between Zoe and Jack. Like when he puts his hand on her, and she just kind of gets up, and she's like brushing off whatever off her arm, and she just looks really reserved and uncomfortable, and she just kind of I don't know. I feel like maybe just I don't know.
Spit it out, man. What's the word?
Jack raped Zoe maybe as a child, molested her. That is actually the implication you get from that scene. Exactly.
Or maybe just at the point of infection, maybe. Like maybe it just brought on these weird.
Yeah, exactly. Or even like where he got infected first and then did shit to her and then shit like that. But it would explain, with the face crossed out in the picture, like it was done angrily. Like really, really, with a lot of anger and contempt done. It seems like that. You know what I mean?
Again, there's just so much going on. There was so much going for Zoe as a character.
We'll learn about that in the daughter DLC for sure. By the way,
I hope so, and maybe not a hero as well.
Yeah, this is the point I think they're gonna go over in the daughter DLC though. Is why Zoe, I think, and I'm pretty sure you'll probably play as Zoe, either Zoe or Lucas in that DLC, but it's going to show why Zoe kind of disconnected and left the family and explain how she actually got away probably. But the problem I have with that scene is, the reason that I'd actually prefer it to be something as bad as it sounds, like sexual molestation, is because no matter what it is, if it's related to the infection, it is totally unjustified for a daughter to act like that with a dad because of what he did while he was infected. Like, for example, right? You as a player, as Ethan, with no connection to Jack, and all he's been trying to do is murder you. And I think you get the feeling that even Ethan feels sorry for Jack at that scene. He's talking to him normally. He's like, wow, dude. But his daughter doesn't. Because Ethan can understand, okay, you were infected. You literally kidnapped my wife. You got her to fucking attack me. You've been trying to kill me this entire time, but you're infected. I get it, dude. Look at you now. This is how you are. I feel like the excuse I'm using, like I said, like there was some actual bad blood in the past, is much better. Because do you not see how, like, it's her final moments with her dad, and she's going to go, nah, fuck it, he was infected and
being out of the window.
It's just bad writing in itself. And if that is the actual explanation...
But is it final moments? Because, again, that's like a dream, you know what I mean? And, Zoe should be alive in one of the canons, if you know what I mean.
I really hope, because to be honest, that scene makes no sense at all.
I still find it very lovely and sort of just a nice change.
Jack is dead permanently, because if he's not dead, fuck Resident Evil. I'm not playing out.
Okay.
All right, let's get back on topic now.
No, if he ain't dead, Wesker ain't dead. Nobody's dead. Nobody's dead. And Spencer's still alive. If Jack's still alive,
everybody's immortal. Resident Evil 8.
I'm sorry. When a series starts creating resurrection or some form like that, I can accept the Alex Wesker. That's okay in my opinion. But when you start
that was actually explained, so that makes sense.
No, even when it's explained, resurrection powers are dangerous to play with. They are in a series. They've literally ruined series in the past, and it's a
like the films.
Yeah.
And films.
It's fucking Alice clones all the time, and then bringing back all the characters that they killed earlier in the series as clones. Like, it's just such a cheap way of, like...
Well, who else are they going to cast in them bullshit films?
What Resident Evil movies?
Let's talk about the mansion. Like, how awesome that was.
So getting on, right? Because I think the writing was really well done in the mansion. And everything in the dinner scene was fucking great, dude. That dinner scene, oh god, that in VR was so much powerful than I thought it would be. You know, you've already seen it a lot on the tapes, but when you actually got there and you can look around freely yourself, man, that scene freaked me out. Like, when Jack comes at you with the knife and stuff and it stops, but for me, you know, it was literally right in front of my eyes. It kind of took my breath away how powerful that scene really was. And then after that, it's kind of uncharted territory, so to speak, because we've only seen bits and pieces. And, you know, anything can happen. It's a dynamic game. Like, the wall can break at different points, for example, than you're used to. It cannot break at all. Different things like that. It's got a lot of diversity to this area. Just not the main hall itself, but just like the garage and dinner area. And I just thought, when you see Jack for the first time and he comes down, man, and you got to creep back to the hallway before he sees you and he starts chasing you and taunting you. Oh man, that was so fucking scary for the first time. Like, that really, really terrified me. He was so fast when you looked away. He would not leave me alone.
Your first playthrough, he was relentless. He did not let up at all. He hunted you down throughout that entire house the entire time you was playing. I was thinking, you drew the short straw on this copy, mate. Seriously,
I think
you got relentless Jack mode.
That was a good thing, though, of course, because in a horror game you want that intensity, no break.
Yeah,
like
I was lucky.
Yeah, I actually watched some other people's playthroughs,
and they didn't get it as bad as you.
Yeah, exactly. They had like good 5-minute breaks, dude, and I did not get a minute brek from him once. Yeah. Not even a minute.
I literally only saw him twice after the garage.
Yeah, Jack only kind of hung around like upstairs, in the is it the recreation room?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mainly just around there. Maybe it's a sort of like mechanical issue, like, you know, him not getting enough variety, like, I don't know, enough variety of the AI and stuff, like, but yeah, I was lucky to just have him there, and but you know, it's when you actually get through that and you just know that all you have to do really is go after that dog head, and you don't have to worry about him anymore when you've dealt with that part of the game. That's, you know, it does kind of, yeah, you don't really think about that anymore, in my opinion.
The way I was expecting the game to come out was, and maybe it's just me because it was kind of explained to me by somebody else fucking forever ago, was that you're going to have to go and do the normal Resident Evil puzzle solving and do all that and fight, you know, the molded and or zombies, whatever one was going to be in the game that we thought at the time. But it's just do that, but avoid like 4 different family members roaming around the house. Like, that would have been way more intense.
Awesome. That would have been really awesome.
That's, I don't know who told you that, because Capcom themselves did early on many times, and I've even said this in many of my videos. I'm surprised you missed this one out, Demo, but Capcom said that the game was going to have each enemy of the Bakers isolated to their own section.
I mean, they still kind of did anyway. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they could still be like in their own sections or whatever, but I thought that like, the whole, like, you can only trigger Marguerite once you get this item, and then go to the store, and she's like, stay the fuck out. And you're like, okay. But even then, like, when you know what you're doing, you could just trigger her to vanish. Just go and hurry up and do the one thing, and then you're just like, okay, she's no longer chasing me. That was 2 minutes of kind of suspense, maybe. And even then, like, Marguerite's not even that good of, like, a villain. Other than her boss battle.
Her boss battle was my favorite part of the game, to be honest.
She had the best boss fight, but it was like...
It was such a, like, you know, grotesque and that kind of like, you know, yeah, I think it's horrible and it's disgusting and it's ew, but that's beautiful in a way because it's like, you know, Capcom actually went there. Like, you know, they went there on the design. They decided to put a fucking... I don't even know what was going on down there, but like, the fact they went there was, you know, I applaud them for that. Like, it was very creative, and the fact they can just, like, you know, lower the pitch of her voice, extend her limbs, and just make her act like a fucking uncanny, like, human that resembles, like acts like an insect,
a spider,
a large insect, but still, you know, it wasn't like she grew extra limbs or anything. She just assumed the postures of an insect instead, and just had extended limbs and just a horrible voice, horrible vagina, and yeah, it was just horrible. And the build up to it, like if you see me in my playthrough of it the first time, I was literally like
Screaming
panicked. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then it happened, like she smashed through that fucking window, and I couldn't deal with it. And when I finished, I just had to pause the game for like, a little bit and just have a breather, because it just fucking traumatized me how like disturbing that whole boss battle was.
That scene in VR, I had a different experience on that, but when I walked up to the window, I was not even expecting that shit. I literally walked up to that window in VR. She pops out of nowhere right in my face. I jump back. I'm like, fuck, what was that?
You got lucky, because when you jumped back, you dodged her. In my playthrough, she grabbed the shit out of me.
Yeah, but then after that, the first window I was paranoid of approaching. I thought I couldn't tell what her mechanics were at this point. I was like, are they mechanically going to have it so that as you walk past these windows she tries to grab you and you've got to dodge her, like in that kind of sequence? So as I walked up the stairs, I was like leaning to the left in the VR to try and like avoid her, and like, because you got to go up the stairs past 2 windows, and as I went past that second window, it kind of like forces you to really get close to the window, and I was like fucking so paranoid. It was beautiful, to be honest.
My favorite was Jack's magic trick.
Why did everyone have their brightness so high, by the way? I had it so low in my playthrough. Everywhere was pitch black to me. It was fucking scary.
I had it at the recommended settings.
I had to put it up just because it didn't translate to YouTube very well, I don't think. Like, it just didn't look pleasant for the audience to watch my playthrough like that.
I just thought the entire Marguerite fight was done really well. You've got a lot of things that you've got to micromanage within the fight. Like, you can burn the cupboards to get extra ammunition. You've got flies that are coming after you. It's not just about Marguerite, you know what I mean? It keeps you doing other things that keeps the intensity high.
It felt like the most sort of classic Resident Evil boss as well, because it was all about, her being the bullet sponge, and you just fucking unload everything you got on her. And that was basically it. Whilst, all the other bosses had a bit of a... if this is the weak spot, this is the way to get her. Whilst, it just had that classic, keep shooting till she's down, and I was happy with that. I mean, I really don't.
Well.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good boss, and I just kind of liked how when she died, and then it was just like, just do me a favor and fucking stay dead, okay?
I think everyone would have been thinking that at the point. Like, do me a favor and fucking stay dead.
She's just, I don't know, I find her language like hilarious. Like in the pit fight, she's like, all right, you little cocksucker, let's get down to business.
Why the
Marguerite had the most foul mouth.
It's
so hilarious.
Am I led to believe that it's her that's just stuffing all these lockboxes full of maggots?
Probably,
yeah. Psycho bitch.
Dude, those things looked awesome in VR. Like, you could see them all writhing around. It made my skin crawl, really did. And you can get like right up close to them. You can like lick them if you wanted to. It's disgusting.
Ew.
You dirty bastard.
I do mention it in my recent entry to my Let's Play, but did you guys notice, like, sort of not so much looks and narrative, but more just core personality traits between Lucas and Raymond Salazar, and maybe that one scrawny guy from Resident Evil 5 that Jill like forces to like become the huge fucking sea monster. I feel like he was the equivalent of those characters.
Yeah.
The evil, crazy guy.
The evil, conniving little shit.
Yeah,
yeah.
On that note, right, this is what I really liked about Lucas, is he was portrayed to be an idiot that's just brutal, I guess, just a malicious idiot, right?
I would say that he's trying to be portrayed as the fuck up in the family and everything.
He was fucked up before the fucking murdered. So it just made him more fucked up.
The thing is, though, is that he was really, really smart. We're talking, like, I would honestly say he's one of the smarter characters.
Engineering degrees and shit. He was fucking very clever. He was just a fucking... But his accent and his bodily actions and his mannerisms made him it made him act like he was a fucking idiot, but that is
Yeah.
one thing he was not.
And
I
that's
just
why
really
I think
hope,
he's a
like-
really well-written character, because that contradiction is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope, like, I don't know, if we ever do see more of Lucas again, we can maybe see him on a, a more personal level. Like Lucas's whole section in the game was like, it was between you and him talking to you through, the speakers and all that stuff, communicating through technology and stuff. But do you actually come face to face with him in an actual fight? No. And I really hope maybe it's Chris that's gonna, put an end to him. But
It's not Chris.
Let's not. Don't just. We'll just leave. Instead of everyone saying it's not Chris, it is Chris, because that's a pointless debate. Nobody can prove it. Let's just say the Redfield character, because that could say it is
Okay.
Chris. It could say it's Hunk. It could say it's someone else impersonating Chris, a Chris clone, whatever.
The Chris clone from the Revelations trailer.
oh my god.
He
He
broke.
made a shocking return.
He broke away and he got off that boat and he went to BO and he fucking said, "I'm Redfield, bitches."
Yeah, well, yeah, let's talk about that fucking thing with that, Ellen. Fair enough, I won't talk.
Yeah, just because, honestly speaking, everyone has their own opinions on that. So if everyone just says until Capcom, confirms something, it's the Redfield character.
Well, we'll know we're not a hero, and we'll
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it won't be far away anyway. We could probably do like another podcast on like all of the DLC.
I don't know about all the DLC altogether, maybe so, but because I want.
I'd say.
want-
Isn't there like a
would
third
be a
piece
good
of unannounced
thing.
DLC as well? Because
Yeah.
like that's the past doesn't make sense with just those two.
Yeah, I'd say the Not a Hero one alone would probably make its own good DLC once everything is confirmed, and then we can actually talk about
It has
stuff.
to be important though, and I hope it's like that kind of separate ways-sized kind of story where it's like a good 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. It's got. It's gonna have to have something good.
Honestly speaking, right? Getting back on topic, the entire main house of the mansion was just so well crafted as well. There's plot
And
holes in how the fuck.
it was like a homage to the Resident Evil 1 mansion outright.
Yeah, with the puzzle to get into the main hall, for example,
It was kind
the
of-
dog heads and stuff. It just felt so reminiscent, and even the way
Yeah.
you had to collect those items in separate locations, and you had like a boss battle to collect one of them, and each one had its own challenge to get it, like a unique challenge associated with it that you had to figure out.
And just as you thought you was about to go to the next point, and then fucking Angry Jack busts through the door with his head still regenerating and sure beat the shit out of dying, eh, boy? And chucking you over the bath. You're like, motherfucker, why don't you just die?
I also have one minor gripe when it comes to the design of that house. Notice there is only one bathroom, and it's on the second floor.
I liked. Well, I don't know if I like it or don't like it, but I noticed that it wasn't like as much puzzle as like original Resident Evil. It's pretty. You can just skim through it really fast. You're not going back and forth between each side of the mansion all day. It's pretty simple getting those dog heads. But the way I see it, though, like I look at it as though, I don't know, I think Capcom probably thought about this. We'll make the first half of the game reminiscent of the old Resident Evils with the mansion and stuff, and then the later half with all the Lucas and the ship stuff, kind of like Resident Evil 4 in terms of pacing, because there was a lot more enemies and a lot more like combat orientated, and somewhat, in a way, a little bit more linear. Straightforward. You're killing this enemy, next bit, killing this enemy.
Definitely got that vibe. Yeah, later on there was no.
I mean, the ship was a little bit open, but that was about it, really.
I'd say the ship was still open in a linear way, though. It's one of those that tries to trick you.
Oh my god, Phil, I was going up and down that ship so many fucking times looking for that acid.
Same.
For a room that didn't even need it in the end. I just needed to go down and use the fuse that I used on the door before, and I was like, what?
That ship was the most annoying part of the game to me.
Yeah. The only issue, well, I liked the fact you got to play as Mia and you saw a different side to her. You know, she's kind of been portrayed as this damsel in
Badass.
distress with like crazy lunatic issues with this virus, but then this sort of shown that like badass side to her, like, and more of a, you know, just something that, you know, the feminists all love, I guess. But like, I don't know, I just liked seeing it. It was pretty cool. Just, you know, kick ass, I guess. And I just didn't like the color of the ship. It just felt so monotone, and yeah,
As
some
if it
things
was
felt like a
taken
chore.
over by mold and hasn't been touched in years.
Yeah,
I
but
know, right?
yeah, but that's
Oh,
still.
my
It
Lord.
almost felt like it was using this color scheme from like Revelations, and it just looked like a really empty version of that. Like, it not in a good way. It didn't feel creepy or anything. It looked like kind of unfinished.
No, I agree with you there, because the Revelations was like, at the start, you know, when you're going in, you can get half vibe. You know, there's black goo going out the vents and shit's like deteriorating, but there's also a lot of light still active, a lot of the shit's
Yeah.
still organized. It gives you that like paradoxical vibe of between apocalypse and normal society.
And there's still a lot of stuff going on in that ship as well. There's different areas like the casino and that, which do bring a lot more like contrast. Whilst this ship was literally just one tone and just sort of the same thing throughout. I mean, I liked the tape that provided a lot of story, but then after that, it was just looking literally everywhere for this acid and this thing just to get this gun and get out of here, basically. You know, it was just sort of a chore after that, but it was still cool because what made it okay was the fact that you were playing as somebody else for a little bit, and that maybe, you know, you could sort of just embody their character for a little bit, maybe think about what they're thinking, you know, see like what's going on with them. You know, she wasn't going to be a slave to Evelyn. She still resented her, like, you know, she wasn't having it. I liked that. That was pretty cool. But, you know, you find Ethan and then that's it, really. And depending on what you chose, some of that felt a little bit pointless. But
yeah, it's like I think with the whole ship thing, I just felt it just seemed it just seemed like it was through on because they had removed the swamp boss battle and shit like that, and they just thought, oh well, we need to iron out at least another like 40 minutes into the game for people who are actually going to explore the ship.
Is it
don't
just
get me wrong.
me, or did the ship, like when you were playing as Mia, it built up to something that never went down?
Yes, thank you.
In all honesty, when I went through the ship, it was more or less just fucking automatic mode for me. I really didn't pay attention to anything much. I was just like, just got to keep going, going to keep going. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep going.
there should have been like some molded that had been hanging in there for like years and years, which would like result in some massive fucking epic boss battle for her to destroy before getting to Ethan. That would have been pretty cool. That would have been a good build up to that. But you literally just plow through the enemies, find Ethan, and then you either kill her or leave her.
Yeah, it just that's what I mean. Don't get me wrong. It's the gameplay in them sort of things. It was good. It just, again, going back to the story, I just didn't feel any sort of connection with that part of the game either. Not at all.
Yeah, and Mia does have.
Got to get through this.
I've noticed some inconsistencies with like Mia's character. Like, I don't know. I don't really get her at points. You know, what is her? You know, what's going on with her? That's what I'm thinking half the time. Like, even when she wasn't infected, what was going on with her? It's just confusing, really. And a lot of people had that issue too, and didn't really like her because of that. Even though, like, I'm pretty sure if there was some, she's like you know, one of the main points of the game, and it's a real shame that you know it's not good. It's not good when one of the main characters.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's all it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like her little alter ego under the whole, you know, E-series infection was like, you know, a good side character in a way.
I'd have loved to have played as a superhuman stabby fucking Mia. That would have seemed like more fun.
Evil Dead Mia.
Evil Dead Mia, definitely. That
Well,
would
it
be more
literally
fun.
is Evil Dead Mia. Like, I'm.
It's a shame we only got to see her at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, if you fight her later on, like if you chose Zoe, you get to see it again. But
For 2
Yeah,
seconds.
But again,
before you
the way
stab
that
her
we
and-
kill her is just fucking maimed by crowbar. That is the worst fucking death ever.
oh yeah, that goes into the next plot hole, which I just remembered.
Axe and X survives. Crowbar to the stomach. Nah, fam. You just got Gordon
Rock,
Freeman.
paper, scissors. Yeah,
Avid?
it is literally a hardcore game.
Yeah, I'm just listening at the moment.
Alrighty.
Like, when you get Gordon Freeman, there's no coming back. Like, aliens can't survive it. Neither should a virus.
Neither can.
Not just any aliens, trans-dimensional.
I mean, a crowbar can even calcify. There we go. Like, I've just realised that.
Oh yeah, because the crowbar just totally dissolved with her too. I don't
Freeman
even.
beats all.
You
It's
want to
like
know
rock,
the biggest
paper,
plot
scissors,
hole with
Freeman.
this? You want to know the biggest plot hole with this? Choose to save Zoe, right? She dies. Mia's still infected. You're playing as Mia now.
Oh, here we go. I know this one. What's coming up here?
Mia has taken an axe to the face, beaten. She's also
Shot in the head.
she's also been shot in the head
She's had it pretty hard, hasn't she?
about 25 times, right? She goes onto the ship.
Yeah,
She's still
domestic
infected.
violence.
Yeah, she's still infected. And then basically, you would also say that you can't say her infection gives a regen because her regeneration happens when she goes back into a normal form in each of these scenes. So basically, she gets on the ship. She takes one hit from a molded. She needs a med kit. She can't even heal if you sit there for an hour. That's so fucking. It's just what? Why did they just throw everything out the window all of a sudden?
But
They had such an opportunity to really cash in here during this scene. If they would, this could have been. Remember when? Because I got a leak. I've got that Mia image from 6 months ago. Literally Mia's face from 6 months ago. So obviously I had somebody inside the company, and they literally said there's going to be dialogue choices in the game, and it's going to have massive implications. And I think this goes back into the cut content again. At this point, they really had a point to cash out. Where if you would have done this, if you save Mia, right? Mia's cured. She goes on the ship. You get the entire scene as it plays out right now. If you cure Zoe, you could have actually had Mia come along, transform, attack Zoe, kill her, and that's like the repercussions for choosing Zoe over Mia. She gets angry and shit, and that could have been the boss battle in the lake that happened. You remember the big tentacle thing that overtipped you? That could have been Mia, and then she kills Zoe after that, blah blah blah, right? And then after this point, you could have woke up on the pair as Mia because whatever, you know, we'll figure something out for that later on. Me and Ashley have already talked about loads of ways to mix that in logically, and then you literally are on the ship with mild regenerative and supernatural abilities, and that would have been cool in the game to have those elements available to you in use now. And it also would have only give you this section with supernatural abilities based on your choice, and it also would have give you consequence to your choice, making the implication much larger. And don't you think it would have been really cool going around this section of the ship, actually, like, say you melee the molded, they actually ragdoll a little bit flying away and stuff like that because you're super strong and you're starting to control the virus.
yeah, it would have been cool. It would have made the choice like a little worthwhile as well. Like you got some benefit from it, like for a little bit before you have to finish
you
it.
could have had more fun pissing on Zoe's grave.
Oh my god, you really hate Zoe, don't you?
No, he doesn't. I do.
You know, no, not as much as Nog, but I feel
You
as
two
much
should
as
just
a connection.
just let it all out now.
Can I give you guys something else?
Oh,
about
you
this?
don't want me to do that.
Can I give you guys something else about this as well that Ashley and Nog are gonna love this point I'm about to make? Is that if they would have just made the choice I said, yeah, it obviously means that killing Mia or saving Zoe, let's put it that way, not killing Mia, but saving Zoe, that choice would lead you to having the next section on the ship with supernatural powers, which would make it faster. So then when it comes to speed runs, it'd be, instead of save the animals or kill the animals, it'd be save Zoe or save Mia, because one section would actually be faster, meaning it'd be better for speed runs, which means that it'd actually have a lot of speed run potential, that option for donations. That they missed out so much on that.
They need to do a BioWare and do like a DLC which fixes plot holes and all this shit.
It's not
And
like
on that note, on shitty BioWare games, I gotta go because I got things to do. And I'll make
Your
sure to
input
join next
has-
time if I can.
Oh, definitely. It'll be good for the not a hero DLC podcast. That one will be more and more interesting.
Yeah.
all in all, though, you know, I'll just carry on, but you know, have a fun time, by the way, Demo. Take it easy. And it has been nice having you here. And we'll definitely have you on all the future podcasts. You've been an awesome community member. And you've just been awesome overall. And I love the stuff you produce. You're an awesome guy.
Yeah, boy.
Alright. Well, carrying on, though. Basically, I'd say I really enjoyed the game overall if you take the plot aside. The gameplay was really fun, the encounters were really fun, the environment was really immersive and atmospheric. Even, you know, the save room theme wasn't so elaborate this time, but it still felt well placed and just, it was relaxing, it just felt like a lullaby at this point. You know, I just overall, the little design choices, the bird cages with the ancient coins and stuff, just all of it. I really did appreciate the handcrafting behind all of the game. If you take the writers out of equation, I think the rest of the development team did a fucking phenomenal job on this one.
Yeah, definitely. Hands down. Gotta give them praise where praise is due.
Yeah, and the animation team, the voice actors did a really, really great job here. The only one I would say is, hey man, Ethan, voice actor, if you're actually listening to this, yo, if that is somehow gets to you, you need to be a little bit more passionate, dude. The Bakers were so authentic and sincere, and you were just like, dude, I'm an edgy fucking emo teen, even though I'm supposed to be saving my wife. Like, come on. I know there's some campiness you were supposed to be doing and were directed to do, but the Bakers did campiness with sincerity. Overall, though, the other teams did really good jobs as well. Just everything, the lighting, everything was beautiful in that entire environment. I loved all the non-plot stuff.
Yeah, the one thing I'd also say is, you know, the little, you know, the homages and the little drops what Ethan does, you know, like when you solve a puzzle, you know, burning something and then it opens a...
Alright, so obviously I wanted to keep this podcast a little bit more natural, by the way. Just let everybody kind of naturally flow into it, to be honest, because when I was watching some podcasts, which I did do some research now, I kind of noticed that's the vibe. A lot of podcasts actually started out like this, you know how I'm talking right now, and some person would literally make jokes and shit talk for about 5 minutes. It was pretty good, to be honest. I appreciated that. But yeah, I just want to ease everybody into it, just let everybody like say a little bit, talk. So how are you guys doing anyway after RE7?
In general,
just in general, like after RE7 now.
I don't know whether I'm playing it so much because I like it, or I'm playing it so much because I'm fucking sick of it.
I'd probably go for the fucking sick of it role, to be honest.
Because I beat it on every difficulty, including Madhouse, and I've just been playing it non-stop, and now I'm just looking to buy something else because I don't want to go back.
I think with me, it's been a thing of I loved what I played of it gameplay wise, and then
Alright, so obviously I wanted to keep this podcast a little bit more natural, by the way. Just let everybody kind of naturally flow into it, to be honest, because when I was watching some podcasts, which I did do some research now, I kind of know. Alright, so obviously I wanted to keep this podcast a little bit more natural, by the way. Just let everybody kind of naturally flow into it, to be honest, because when I was watching some podcasts, which I did do some research now, I kind of noticed that's the vibe. A lot of podcasts actually started out like this, you know how I'm talking right now, and some person would literally make jokes and shit talk for about 5 minutes. It was pretty good, to be honest. I appreciated that. But yeah, I just want to ease everybody into it, just let everybody like say a little bit, talk. So how are you guys doing anyway after RE7?
In general,
just in general, like after RE7 now.
I don't know whether I'm playing it so much because I like it, or I'm playing it so much because I'm fucking sick of it.
I'd probably go for the fucking sick of it role, to be honest.
Because I beat it on every difficulty, including Madhouse, and I've just been playing it non-stop, and now I'm just looking to buy something else because I don't want to go back.
I think with me, it's been a thing of I loved what I played of it gameplay wise, and then unfortunately the story ended up just going.
Hey guys, you want to be ready for a bad joke? You're ready for a bad joke. You know that game I bought you all?
Yeah.
There's more depth to it than Resident Evil 7.
Oh,
shots fired.
Oh shit. And if anyone is not wondering, the game I bought is fucking depth, so that was a terrible pun.
It was a terrible pun, but
You're a
it's got so
terrible
much
person.
truth to it. It's unbelievable.
Actually true, by the way, guys. Not a sarcastic joke. It's like one of those is sarcastic but not really sarcastic, kind of a joke but not a joke.
It's just so true.
Does Depth have documents, T?
No, but I do believe the diver you play as has got more of a background story than Ethan. I do believe that.
And it also tends to pull you in and pull you under.
There's also no Zoe.
Shut your whore mouth.
Yeah. It just don't get me. Yeah, all I'd say is gameplay-wise, that game was awesome. The gameplay was good. What was there of it was good. Story, it was terrible. The thing is, right, the one thing going back and looking at all this, what they could have done is just marketed this as a first-person survival horror game, and then at the end panned to the helicopter and saw Umbrella and go, oh my god, this is the Resident Evil lore. That would have been so much better.
Yeah, but
Because
even then, to me, there's still inconsistencies within the plot.
The inconsistencies wouldn't have mattered because you wouldn't have thought you was playing a Resident Evil game. The story was
some of them I'm
absolute
talking
shit.
about. Even past the Resident Evil, some of these plot points still don't make sense at all. Like at all. Like the cure on Zoe, for example.
Have you got a quill and some fucking scroll? Because we can
Why, you're gonna write loser on my hand?
dissect. We can literally fucking dissect the shit out of it. But seriously, it's
It's gonna be.
I apparently heard that after Resident Evil 7, games that don't have a character named Zoe produce much better quality content.
you shut your
Why
whole mouth.
you gotta keep bringing that name up?
We're on a Resident Evil 7 podcast. Of course I gotta talk about the characters, no matter how badly written or plot hole ridden they were.
Listen here, that so-called character is so bad that it barely even qualifies as a character. Hell, it barely qualifies as a fucking placeholder, okay? That's how bad this character is.
I felt as
Remember,
attached
there
to
was an
Zoe.
unimportant character. Cheese it.
I felt more attached to Zoe. Or should I say, I would have felt as attached to Zoe as I would if the wristwatch you had just had an AI giving you basic instructions. Literally, I felt no attachment to
really.
that character.